Welcome, friends, to another Wolf Responds. I call this one simply War because we are surrounded, you and I, by news and alarms and pictures of burning buildings and missiles. We're drowning in war, war, war. So that's what I want to talk to you about. President Trump campaigned on ending what he called the forever wars, which he blamed on the Democrats. He had a good part of justification in doing that. After all, it was Mr. Biden who got the U.S., and I say that intentionally, the U.S. into being the partner for Ukraine in the war against Russia. But Mr. Trump has now, in the first half year of his 4 years of office, overwhelmed the United States in war, not ended them. The Ukraine war remains. The Israeli war on the Palestinians in Gaza remains. And now the Israelis, to the wonderment of a world, a small country like that, already using other countries, mostly the United States' money and weapons to rain terror down on a largely defenseless Palestinian population. That little country of Israel is now undertaking a war that it started against the 90 million people. Israel has somewhere between 7 and 10 that are not Arabs whom they oppress. So they're warring against Iran with its 90 million people. And as if that war weren't bad enough, Mr. Trump, and remember, the United States is not part of that war, not legally, not by declaration, not by any discussion in the United States Congress that I'm aware of, has demanded, I quote you now from President Trump, the unconditional surrender of one of the two sides. I'll leave it to you to guess which one. And if the news is correct, Pakistan has threatened to enter the war on Iran's side against Israel. And I want to remind people, Pakistan does have nuclear weapons. None of this is worth it. Not for the American people, not for the Israeli people, not for the Iranian or the Pakistani people. This is not in anyone's interest, except small groups of politicians and military commanders and the industries that profit from the military commanders. They may get something out of this, but they're a tiny group of people compared to all those threatened in their livelihoods, in their bodies and minds, and in life itself. When things get to this point, you know that something basic is wrong here, because reasonable people would not work themselves into such a situation. There's plenty of oil in the world. We don't need to kill each other over it. There are plenty of ways to resolve conflicts. Israel Arab, Israel Iranian, and so on, that don't require mass destruction and killing. That's always the important thing to remember. not after the war is over, when all those kinds of comments become commonplace as people look back in horror at the prices they've paid. For what? No, no. Let's do it now when it matters. Stop this craziness. Mr. Trump has demanded the unconditional surrender, his words, of Iran, a country with which the United States is not at war, a country that we were supposed to negotiate with last Sunday, and that was only stopped when the Israelis attacked on Friday. The issues have been brewing a long time. I remember in 2004, Secretary of State Powell explaining that no, the constant rumors that Iran was on the verge of a nuclear weapon were not true. And I know that every 2 to 3 years, that claim was made and it was rebutted, and it turned out that they weren't making nuclear weapons. Could it be true this time? Sure, it could. I wouldn't know. But you know the old story of the boy who cried wolf. You keep doing that and it isn't true, then one day when it might be true, nobody will believe you. Well, most of the world doesn't believe Israel and doesn't believe the United States because they cried that thing, they made that claim over and over. It has exactly the same persuasive power that the claim Iraq has weapons of mass destruction, i.e., nuclear weapons, and that turned out to be phony also. It would be naive and foolish not to remember all of that, to stick one's head in the sand and pretend none of it happened, that Mr. Netanyahu, despite the most horrible program in the world against the people of Gaza, would now want to spread war even further. What does he imagine will be the attitude of all of the peoples whose lives have been destroyed by Israelis? What will they have in their hearts, in their minds? What kind of a future are you building with this behavior? It's the same question always asked of combatants, and for which they rarely have anything other than an answer that is somewhere between outrageous and stupid. War is stupid. It's a failure of getting a reasonable settlement without paying the absurd prices of war. The United States is no longer immune. The two oceans no longer protect us. We are vulnerable too. And we should learn the lesson before it overwhelms us. There is still time, although the time is getting short. Nothing going on in the world today deserves or is worth mass warfare killing huge numbers of people. That is the bottom line for a rational community. To ignore it means you have entered into a crazy place, an irrational situation, and there your only reasonable response is to get away from the irrationality as fast and as far as you can. If interventions like these strike you as important to shape the conversation and make sure it includes perspectives that those in power prefer not to have to confront, then please share this video with friends, neighbors, as long as we can. And remember, it takes money to produce and distribute these things. And if you can help with that, please go to our website and do your part as well. Thank you.